content of this channel is for mature audiences. Parental discretion is advised. You're tuned in to the Green Gorilla channel. Please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell notification button. And please, feel free to share the video. Thank you.
What's good, everybody? I'm the G with a PhD. You tuned in to the Green Gorilla channel. It's the place where black men can express themselves freely, straight up with no chasers, man. Before I get things started, man, I want to make sure that all my haters get a shout out. Shout out to all the haters. What's good with y'all? And if you haven't done so, man, when you come in, man, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification so you can stay abreast of what's going on here on the Green Gorilla channel. And also, I want to take this time to give a special shout out to all of the members of the Green Gorilla channel. So I want to shout out K-Ron S, True King 337, Javon Thompson, Anthony Davis, BGS Ibmore, Life of Commerce, Raphael Brown, Professor Carl Tone Jones, and Raiz Muajid. Big up to y'all. Big up to Lionel Jean Louise, Artisan MC, Damon Brown, Darnell 360, Kisses from Afar, Herbert Lewis, Seven Coast Dojo, Rogish the Build Monger, Destro 1, and Pulpit 28. Big up to y'all. I want to give a big up to Michael Ross, Charles Rogers, Papa Didas, Travis King, Adam Williams, B. Hillfire, Rick Ross, Sandra Jean 955, Timothy Blewett, and Brotherly Love. Big up. I want to give a shout out to Charles Gilmore 3, Diego Harry, Patricia Colley, 7Q Pick, Kwaku Asasi, Super Tech, Gregory Oliver Gregg, Antonio Feria, and Barry Little. Big up to y'all. Big up to Alan Wiley, Mr. Valentino, Jason Hales, Black Men Being Brutally Honest, 77 Base X, Omni Americana, Cameron 87, Deshaun Nolly, Brian Peaks and Nelso. Big up to y'all. Big up to Apex Prowler, Kareem, Doc LaRock, Jay Charles, Mark Holt, Lee Ways, Jeffrey Speed, The Face, Mark Swift, and Show Me. Big up. Big up to Black Dog, Odd Collar, Donald Watts, Cozy Corner, HipHop.CATV, Coach DC, Kashif Caldwell, I Am Black Man, Nichita, and Mr. Blue Collar. Big up. Big up to Barnolas, Kyle J. Sura, I'm Just Jules, Brian McMurray, TD Hip Hop Media, Drew Main, Mr. Heat, Afro Shop, and Sir Anthony. Big up. Big up to MLR, Universal 178, Black Swerve 404, Rasheed Barnes, Aaron Smith, DH, C-Truth the Revelator, Gold Professor, Arthur Unknown, Dr. Tiasan Johnson, Kalon Chakala, Ricky Dawson, Cedric Bowman, True 7360, BK Born Shaheed, James Washington, Hostile Adept, W. Pierre 1, Marvin Battle Jr., and I can't forget my brother in heaven, Force Windu. And on my Patreon side, I want to give a shout out to Jules Winfield, Romello Scuggs, Darnell Smith, Excalibur, Jason Warren, Soul Pen, Anu 219, Pursuer Prisoner, Taz, Kwaku 217, Dragon 59, Supreme Ibmore, Adrian Hicks, Jay Bailey, Mr. Michi, Mo Mal, and Asangwa. Big up to all of y'all, man. Thanks to all my members, man. Y'all deserve a round of applause. And if you're wondering how you can become a member of the Green Gorilla channel, man, this is how you do it. What's good, everybody? I'm the G with a PhD, and you're tuned in to the Green Gorilla channel, the place where black men can express themselves freely, straight up, no chaser. Today, I want to introduce you to my new membership program that consists of 5 levels where you can invest in the Green Gorilla channel on a monthly basis and receive level-specific perks. Memberships are special because they improve the quality of the content of the channel and will help me to be able to keep the channel going. Now, to participate in the Green Gorilla Channel membership program, all you have to do is hit the join button, which is located right next to the subscribe button on my channel page. Now, for all of my subscribers who decide not to participate in my membership program, nothing will change. The content will keep coming the way it always has. Thanks for watching, and be careful out here, people. Bless. All right, man, we back. I'm GG. You're tuned in to the Green Gorilla Channel. This is the place where black men can express themselves freely, straight up with no chasers. And today I brought an extra special guest. I got one more coming. I'm just waiting for him to fall in line. But for the most part, man, you all know him as Uncle D. You know, the man with the master plan, the counselor who resides in Houston, Texas. So let me cut off this music, man, and introduce my brother Dennis Sperling to the stream. How you doing, brother Dennis, man?
I'm good. The G with the PhD, man. It's always a pleasure to be back here with you.
Man, it's a pleasure to have you, man. You know, I'm at all, man. I love your show. I'm a big fan. You know,
Thank you so much.
I hope I can call you a good friend, man.
Oh,
you know,
yeah,
in this manosphere space.
Yes, sir. And I appreciate the work you do. You and all the PhDs. It's just an amazing job. You gentlemen bring a whole nother level to it. So thank you so much for all that you do. And it's always a pleasure. As I said, it's always a pleasure to be here with you. I actually just finished my stream before.
Did you?
Yeah. So, but it's cool, man. It's always good to be here, brother.
Now, I brought you on the show, man, specifically because you are a counselor, okay?
Yeah.
You're an attorney, okay? So I just want people to know, what did it take for you to actually become an attorney? How difficult was it? How arduous was the path?
Man.
Was it something that you enjoyed? Was it something that was arduous in relation to the people you had to deal with? I mean, give us some insight as to what it took for you to actually obtain that license and to obtain the education that enables you to practice law in the United States.
Well, a little bit about myself. I'm actually licensed to practice law in 4 states, multiple federal courts, including the United States Supreme Court and the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, which is an appellate court that governs a good section of the South. I live in Texas now. I started off, I received my education in Louisiana. And so before that, I was in California. Now, the thing is, and I'll bring up the fact that, you know, I grew up in the urban city in Los Angeles, California, graduated from manual arts, but nobody gives you any credit for that. In other words, just because you had a tough youth growing up, you didn't know who your father was, you had to deal with gangs, maybe your mother was an alcoholic, maybe you're maybe you were abused. Nobody cares. You don't get any credit for that. You made it, you're here, you're at the start line, even though your journey to get to that starting point might not have been as easy as some others who maybe grew up with a silver spoon in their mouth or even had a spoon while you eating with your hands. But bottom line, nobody cares that how you got there. You're here now, put that all behind you. It's time to go ahead and progress through academia, even if, you know, you're still dealing with those monsters and demons from your childhood. So that said, you're dragging all that luggage with you through academia, whatever it may be. But what you have to do is learn to put that aside and focus. Now, I got to Grambling State University. I had a 2.6 GPA. I scored a 750 on the SAT, and I believe a 17 on the ACT, which means I barely made it as far as what I think academia would consider a good student. Matter of fact, many of my high school teachers, including my math teacher, they were shocked that some university allowed me to get in. They just had written me off years before, being a young black male, and I wasn't let me see. I wasn't the type. I wasn't one of the chosen few black males that the staff or the members of the school say, "Oh yeah, he's one of our favorites." I was black sweatshirt, Dickies. Most of my friends were gangbangers. They had names like Maniac, Sugar Bear, Sumo. You know, that was my crowd. So there was no expectation that I would even assent or even go to college. At best, you know, maybe I'd get a job or go try to get, you know, a JC or a AA degree from somewhere and work my way through school. So I was completely written off by my counselors, who didn't even recommend college to me. They never even thought about recommending an HBCU. And you know, my grades weren't that good. You know, I fought. I think I had to fight my senior year of high school. I played football, which was a good thing. That's what kept me going to school. I happened to be in the weight room, lifting weights with my football coach. Season had ended. I was done. I really didn't have a plan. And there was a man that came to my school looking for college students. And I just so happened to have taken the SAT. Nobody told me to take the SAT. I knew I should take the SAT. I spent, I think it was $100 of my own money, took the SAT, took the LSAT. My GPA was more than a 2.5, you know, and I just so happened to be one more. He had one more application to go to Grambling, and I just so happened to be one more person that was available. So they gave me a call. I thought I was in trouble. So I kind of meandered my way to the principal's office because I'd gotten in a fight. And so I thought, man, they're going to kick me out right before school. Maybe if I just dodge them until the end of the school year, you know, nothing to happen. But I got there, man. The guy actually didn't have the application in his hand. He had to walk outside to his car. The bell rang, school let out, and it was like a $25 application. He actually didn't have an application to go to Southern University. He said, I just got this one for Grambling. Have you ever been to Louisiana? I said, no. You know what a HBCU is? I said, I thought that was just something that they made up on the Cosby Show, A Different World in School Days. He said, no, they really exist. I'm like, he said, here. I said, but I have a 2.5 GPA and a 750 on the SAT. He said, yeah, you're good. You get in. We take into account the fact that you have not had an easy life. So I applied the first time. I applied to one university. I got in. You know, that $25 application saved my life. I didn't have parents helping me. You know, I did it on my own. But bottom line is I showed up in the fall of 1992 at Grambling. And at that point, nobody cared all that I'd gone through. But I decided to major in biology because initially I wanted to be like you. I wanted to be a doctor, but I wanted to be a veterinarian. I always liked animals. I have a very caring and nurturing spirit, you know, and, you know, I know it seems kind of odd. You got this 6'4" black man who was an offensive tackle who wants to care for animals, but it was what it was. But either way, I ended up majoring in biology. My first semester, I got a 3.7 GPA out of 4. Now, the thing is, I still failed math because I didn't know that you could drop a class. I thought it was like high school. You had to get special permission. And of course, my math skills were horrible because my math teacher in high school and junior high and all those schools, they didn't care. They didn't think I was going to make it. So why bother teaching this guy math? He's not going to go anywhere but around here. But either way, the rest of my grades were very high. It let me know that with peace of mind, with 3 meals of food a day, somewhere safe to sleep and warm, and no police over the sky, you know, helicopters and whatnot, I could do well. And so, man, from that point forward, you know, I paced myself. It took me actually 5 years to graduate in biology. I was taking the organic chemistry, the microbiology. I took all those pre-medical school classes. But in in 1995, I ran across a professor. His name is Dr. Benny Miles. And he said, you know, you're a good student. You're a B student. He said, but typically people don't want B doctors operating on them. What he basically said was, you're a good student, but you're not an A student. You see what I mean? And people,
I hear you, man.
A-level students being medical doctor. Because I had changed. I said I opted out of the veterinarian thing. I said, I'll be a medical doctor. And but he said, but you're good. You speak in class and you give these girls a hard time. you definitely.
You was doing it back then, huh?
Yeah, even back then, I was not willing to just succumb to the matriarchy. Like I would speak up, and I didn't care what they thought, because at that point, man, if I really look into my past, I was suffering from PTSD associated with growing up in the hood, abuse, all those other things that brothers have to deal with. So I didn't really care. I was like a vet, like I was like a Vietnam vet to come home. I didn't care what you think. I don't want you. I'm just here for the class. I'm just here to graduate, and I'm happy to be somewhere where I'm not getting shot at. I'm not getting set tripped on, and I don't have to be at my mama's house and deal with the foolishness that was going on there. So I'm like, anything I got to do not to go back. So I just focused on my studies, man. I would study for hours and hours in organic chemistry. I think between organic chemistry and trigonometry, those are the things that almost kept me from graduating from university.
Oh man, those are difficult subjects, man. Organic chemistry is no joke, man. You're dealing with the carbon atom.
Yeah.
And then trigonometry, you plotting the course of not curves, but if you're dealing with trigonometry, you're dealing with triangles. So
right. So imagine me having a deficient high school education that I have coming from an inner city school that is purposely underfunded. And you drop me in these classes, no pre-science. No help, no tutors, no nothing. But I managed to pass. I graduated with a 3.1 GPA. And then, as I was saying earlier, my professor said, Benny Miles, he basically said, you should go to law school. You good at that. And I said, well, I got to go back. Where am I going to go to law school? He said, well, you can go right back to go down to Southern University. I said, where in Louis? They got a law school. So I went there. Man, the thing is, and now that we get into professional school, I went in there with the attitude that I can do anything. I went in there with the attitude that I got this, man. I got this college degree. I'm sure of myself. And I got humbled, man. It was the first time in a long time that I scored less than a 2.4 GPA cumulative for my first semester. And what happened was I was in there with a bunch of other people that were smart, and they were the best of the best from their schools. And they grade you on a competition-based curriculum. And so it's like you compared to these other people and what they got on the test, you got to see. You see what I mean? Even if
get you.
So it's kind of like they grade on the curve. And so that was a very humbling experience. I actually got a scholarship. I lost a scholarship. I had to fight my way back, but and then just the years and the 3 years of intensive studying and having to memorize the constitutional law and federal procedure and tort. And the thing about law is they're not there to teach you. They're there to get rid of you. Like they don't want you to be a lawyer. They don't want to give you enough time to actually learn it. They want to see how much you can learn and how much pressure they can put on you to keep you from learning it. So they'll give you 4 chapters to read in this class, another 4 chapters to read in this class, all in legalese, which means you're looking at the legal dictionary trying to understand the paragraph you just read, and you got 14 other chapters to read before Wednesday, and it's Tuesday night. You see what I'm saying? See, they put you in a pressure cooker because they want you to fail. And so I would say that growing up in South Central and growing up in that urban environment and having been shot at, having been set tripped on, it definitely prepared me for pressure. So that wasn't it. I just didn't have the knowledge base, but I fought through it. I scored I graduated in the top third of my class at number 33 out of 90, which is a little under top third. But and then even my law professors, they didn't think, oh yeah, okay, you graduated, but they thought I was playing. They thought, oh, he just in here playing. I'm hanging out. I had joined with my fraternity and I pledged underground. So I was partying with the undergrads. And so I wasn't a little law student with the briefcase and trying to get the job at the defense firm. And so they thought I was playing. But when I popped up and I graduated on time, and then here's the tell-all test. the bar examination, because you got a lot of the other people who are around there, and they were, playing the game and being sycophantic towards the professors and kissing butt. I didn't care. I just didn't care. I remember walking in my federal procedure class, and I announced in there, this is my senior year, I'm gonna get the highest grade in this class. And I meant that. And that was a call, that was a challenge to myself. It was Evelyn Wilson. I told I'm gonna get the highest grade in this class. I would follow her from her office, from her class to her office, ask her all the little different nuances about federal law and federal cases and how this works and how that works. And so I eventually, definitely got an A in the class, and there was about 3 A's given. I don't know where I ranked, but I forced myself to win. Now, upon graduation, people still didn't take me seriously. Some people who knew me did, but I never gave the impression like it was difficult, but it was difficult. But what ended up happening is, man, out of my class of about 100 people, only 30 passed the bar, and I got a perfect score on the bar examination.
Oh, man, congratulations, man. You deserve a round of applause for that one, bro.
Yeah.
Real talk, man, because that ain't every day that we see that, bro. You know what I'm saying? You deserve a round of applause for that one, man. Boom, knock him out the box, bro. Knock him out, Rick. Knock him out, Rick.
And then the thing is, that's just the beginning. Like, okay, you met the minimum basic requirements. You demonstrated to this state that you have the minimum basic understanding of the law, and now you can practice law. Okay, but you don't know how to practice law. That's like me dropping a fresh out of school medical student in an operating room with 3 gunshot victims and say, hey, okay, here you go. You graduated from medical school. You're like, hold on a minute. So I went back to school. I got white people like me at Tulane because of my activism and environmental law and environmental racist positions that I'd taken. And somebody had got hold of some stuff that I said in the newspaper. And the good white folk down at Tulane said, we need a Negro like that. Come on down here. So they dragged me down. They had a 2-year program, LLM, which is a legal law environmental master's program. All of your law professors have those. And I said, man, I don't want to go back to school. All my friends out here making money. They bought that baby Benz, a little condo. I want to get some money, and I've been broke, because now think about it, man. I'm 26 years old, 27 years old, and I'm broke. All the other people, they got jobs, they got money. It's 19, what year is it? It's 2000, and I done watched all the big pimping videos, and you see what I'm saying? And I'm ready to get my money, delayed gratification, basically. And I'm tired of it. My mama didn't understand why I was going back to law school if I already had a law degree. And, the bottom line is, man, I went back. It was a 2-year program. I blew through the program in 1 year. I took every class they offered. I think I was taking between 18 and 21 hours a semester. One professor, Oliver Hawkins, some of these folks at Tulane, they're very famous in the legal community. And, I don't know what they thought. When I got there, I couldn't write as well as some of the white students who went to Harvard and Yale. And I'll tell you, man, I would just sit up and listen to some of those white boys, man, and some of those white girls who went to those, and they were just so well spoken. I was impressed by how well they could speak, man. I was like, wow. And, and the thing is, man, by the time I got there, I was already the black man that I am. Like, I didn't care. I didn't have any food to eat. I was literally starving. I went from 250 pounds to about 180 pounds because I refused to ask anybody for help because, I'm a man, you know what I mean? And so I would choose between, I remember one time I went about a week without eating, but I put the $5 that I had for beans and rice in my in my car. $5 back in 2001 was, that'll get you, some gas, man. But I would have rather starve and die than fail, because I knew there were other black kids. I was the only black American, ADOS, FBA in the program. They had Africans, they had folks from South America, folks from Caribbean, but there was no other black men in the program. They had a couple of black girls, but they had no other black men and nobody else from any HBCUs, well, not a state HBCU. And so I couldn't fail, man. I couldn't fail. And I would rather die than fail. I literally was prepared to die rather than fail. I would be
hear
still,
you, brother. That That's a inspiring testimony, man. So
and one thing I'll tell you this: just there was at one point at my low point, man. I was stealing candy from the white folks' little after school committees, and I was stealing a little candy, and I go home and eat and study and come back. So when you talk about what have I had to endure just to get to the point where I could practice law, I had to do all that, and then when I finally got a chance to practice law. Right after I finished Tulane with my JD, my LLM, perfect score on the bar examination, my first job was as a legal secretary working at this white firm in New Orleans for $10 an hour.
Oh, man.
I didn't have to take that job.
That's a humbling experience, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a humbling experience, but I took it because, that's what got me. Because see, the thing is, man, you can't start off on top, but when you build yourself up from the bottom and you humble and you respectful, see that door that opened for me, that was a personal injury firm. They don't let black people practice personal injury law. They don't bring you in their law firms to practice personal injury law. I practice 100% personal injury law. And if you look around the United States, you'll see black lawyers, they do family law, they do criminal law. They don't do this area law. But because I was willing to go low, take low, that's why I'm where I'm at now. That's why I got $250 million settlements on the way in environmental, me and a team of other lawyers. You see what I'm saying? So I built this from the bottom. But again, nobody gives you credit from what you went through. But, after that, it's just war story after war story and to get me to the point where I am here, brother. But that's pretty much it,
Man, the story of perseverance, man. Congratulations on all your accomplishments, brother.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Straight up. I want to now bring Mr. Palmer to the show. I don't know if y'all two know each other. Y'all associated with each other.
Wait a minute. Do I know Uncle D?
I'm pretty sure, yeah. Look.
Oh, man.
So anyway, man, look.
Uncle D.
Yeah, well, I know y'all. I know you knew him, man. So I was
that's like
the show, man.
Hey, bro, that's like asking if a baby mama takes your child's support. Come on, man. You already know what it is. What's up, Uncle D?
Hey, man, it's always, I know I'm in the right place if Mr. Palmer's here, man. I'm here with Gigi and Mr. Palmer. Man. I'm here with famous people, man.
I'm here with the famous people. Shit. How y'all doing, though?
Hey, man, I'm doing all right, man. I'm glad that both of y'all decided to show up.
Man, I told y'all
actually do the show today, man. I wasn't worried at all, man. I was just like, let me just go ahead and start this fire up this StreamYard, man, and get it on and popping, and just cover the bases and do what I'm supposed to do, the preliminaries to make sure y'all still gonna get down. But
I was man. You know what I do? I just be on the couch, man. I just had to stop, drop, and roll, and get in my chair and go ahead and see what I gotta say. So I ain't too far for the computer.
I hear you, my brother. So tell my audience, which I'm pretty sure there's a lot of crossover here, and everybody who watches my channel pretty much knows about you. But for people who are watching the show for the first time, could you tell the people who are listening, who are watching, and who you are, Mr. Palmer, and what actually brought you to the social media space?
Yeah.
How are you linked to the Black Manosphere? So go ahead and.
Go ahead, brother. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, you go ahead and let them know, man. Go ahead.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm Mr. Palmer. People know me, of course, with the hat. You see it, fuck child support. I've been doing this actually for 5 years. Now, I only been on YouTube for about a year, but I started on Facebook back in 2016. I believe it was September. And that's why I started the fuck child support like page. People call it a movement, but that's why I started. Now, surprisingly, when I started this platform, I wasn't going through child support. So I didn't do it because I had a situation. The reason why I started because I was tired of the society's lies. I was tired of these politician lies that men who want child support is because they don't want to be fathers, and I'm talking about all men don't want to be fathers. Mm-hmm. When they use the black man as the face of being deadbeats, having kids all over the place, well, that's a lie. And I was raised with both parents, mother and a father. I got a bunch of uncles and aunties. I was raised around men. And in my neighborhood, everybody had fathers. Now, it was a select few that didn't have a father, but I was tired of the narrative that men are worthless. Men are not needed except to collect that check. And I got tired of this feminist wave 3 and 4 that was going on. So that's what made me come out with fuck child support, because the stigma that any man is on child support because he don't want to be a father. And that's the biggest crock of shit ever. And people know this, but they don't talk about this. So I came out with fuck child support because I knew it would catch attention. I knew it would cause controversy. I didn't know it would grow the way it did, though. And on Facebook, it went from 10,000 to 50,000, 75,000, all the way to 134,000 followers and likes until Facebook started shadow banning. But I started also on Instagram. Now, what brought me over to YouTube was O'Shea Duke Jackson. He mentioned me on one of his platforms on YouTube, and a friend of mine told me. And I went over and checked him out. He wanted to interview me, and he told me, hey, it'd be better if you come on YouTube. It'll be more beneficial. Also, Minister Japp interviewed me and told me, he's from Chicago too. I'm from Chicago. He told me to come.
Shout out to Chicago. Shout out to Chicago. Yeah. My father's from Chicago. I tell everybody, man.
He told me that, man.
Hey, man, Doc's. I like to get me a fish wish. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? A Doc Berry shake. I like to go to Harold's Chicken, get me a quarter bird with that mixed sauce. You know what I'm saying? Mix it up. I like to get me an Italian Fiesta or that home run in pizza. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, Chicago is my spot, man. It's like another home away from home. But, yeah, go ahead, bro.
Yeah, and also stop listening to the media when they tell you Chicago is the worst city and all that stuff. It's certain neighborhoods on the south side or west side is what's going on, not the whole city of Chicago. People all over the world come to Chicago every year, every day, all day, come to Chicago. Don't think it's the whole Chicago. Unfortunately, it's in certain neighborhoods. But back to what I was saying was, now, in 2017, I get into that situation. So, but it didn't kick off until 2018. The shit lasted for 9 months because the baby mama Tez wanted to prolong it, and he got more money and shit like that. Now, when it come to me and my reality check, now, I didn't know about how the system was when it come to family court. No, I did not know. I thought you don't have a criminal record, which I didn't. I still don't. I had a job, worked there for 15 years. The kids was playing. I was there. Did everything except get married. Everything would get married. But dog, car, and everything else. So I figured, equal parenting time. I was there from day one. They was playing. Wasn't no oopsies or mistakes, nothing like that. I know when I go to court, and I stay only 20 minutes away. So I know when I go to court, hey, I might have to pay child support, but I don't care about that. I just want equal parenting time. Right. I go there, had a lawyer. I'm thinking now, I'm like, okay, first judge we had, she won't try to hear nothing the baby mama tells talking about, he got guns and he this and he that. She's like, I ain't trying to hear all that. Nah, you get every other weekend temporarily because I wasn't able to see my kids about a year. You know what I mean? And if I did, so I might have to see them outside of where I live. Fair relationship. One about I didn't want to be a father. And that's the sad part. As long as you're in that household, you can do whatever. You can do all the bullshit you want to do. You can cheat, you can gamble, drug deal, and everything else. You ain't got to do a goddamn thing. But as soon as you go to court, now all of a sudden it's a problem. It's an issue. All of a sudden, now I got guns in the house. Now, he this and he that. You just can't make this shit up. So anyway, first judge wasn't going. A woman judge was not going. Black woman. For some reason, they took her out. I was going to Markham Courthouse. That's in south suburbs. They took her to the Daily Center downtown. So I get a male black judge. As I say, it don't matter what color these judges is, they all one of the same. They say he was a man of principle. And I remember this judge because I had him for traffic violation. When it came to traffic violation, he didn't believe in charging all that money. He did not. He tried to lowball as much as he could and everything. That was years ago. So, maybe he the same way this other judge is, about right. Man, as soon as my lawyer mentioned about equal parent time, you know what he said? What? Equal parent time? I don't believe in equal parent time. I don't do that. What?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He pointed out, I don't believe in that. And then he was like, well, you got to convince me on why you should get equal parent time. Well, one reason is been there for day one. job, house, stable, 20 minutes away. Text message showing alienation and all the bullshit was going on. He went back, and then like he went back there. Both lawyers went back. They was back there for about an hour.
Yeah.
They knew what the baby mama terrorist was on. They knew that she had issues. They knew it's about him moving on. But when he came back, he said, I understand you've been in your kids' life half their lives. I understand you want to be in the kids' life. Then he came with the but. But it's the best interest of the child, or the children, that they stay with her primary custody every other weekend. And he said, you stay 20 minutes away, you're in 2 different school districts, and they've been with her past 6 months. I said, even though I showed you text message that she wasn't allowing me to see her and she's alienating me, even though I showed proof that text message and everything else, it didn't matter. So that was my reality check. They didn't give a fuck about me being my child's life. They didn't care about me not having a record. They gave me every other weekend. They gave me child support, of course. And what ended up happening, it was prolonged for 9 months. So 2018 to 2019 in February, when it was all said and done, we was the last people up in there. And I told this judge, this what made me start going all in with this fuck child support shit. At the end of the day, I said, I hope I don't have to see you no more, except when it comes to traffic violations. He said, I don't do that no more. I said, why not? He said, you know what he told me? He said, because I wasn't making them enough money.
Oh, wow.
So, in other words, he didn't make no money with them because he believed that he could pay all that child support, or he can whatever they need. And that right there, I didn't say nothing. I don't know if he told me that just to let me know this is what it is. I don't know if he just slipped up and said it and just didn't give a damn whatever. And that right there, after that, I've been taking it and run with ever since, man. This system, when it comes to family court, they don't care about the best fit. All they care about the best benefit, which is government debt to get that $51 billion bill. That's it, man. So I started learning the laws and having your children every other weekend, 4 weekends out the month. That's not a good thing when you're dealing with baby mama tears, because manipulation is a powerful thing. And because of that, my children are manipulated. You know what I mean? Even though they know what it is, you got baby mama tears that can try to pay them, let them do what they want to do, no structure, no rules, no goddamn thing. You know what I'm saying? Your daddy a deadbeat because I say so. Your daddy a broke ass nigga because I say so. I could come in a Maserati right now, I'm still a broke ass deadbeat. That's why I say like now, I'm a high value deadbeat. So I'm everything you say. I'm everything you say. Yeah, I'm everything you say.
Man, cut it out, man.
So now, ever since that reality check, I started learning the laws. I started talking to when I started doing that, I'm like, man, it's just hurting the black man. It's just hurting the black man. And I realized I had a lot of white brothers come on my platform on Facebook and tell me, no, white men be going through this. They broke down the history. They told me when it started and why it started, this. And I've been taking it and run with ever since, man. And I still get knowledge to let people know that this court system is designed to set men up for failure. And that's why I tell people that all men can be set up for failure. Dennis Sperling, big time lawyer. Let him have a divorce. Let him get broke. Let him and this girl break up. Guess what's gonna happen? He go to court. They don't give a fuck about him being a big time lawyer. Oh, okay, that's even better. That's more money in our pocket every other weekend. I guarantee you. 9 out of 10, there's a few guys slip through the cracks and understand. But if this is so fair, why only 17.5% men have custody of our children?
Yeah. So
understand. I learned these stats and statistics, realizing that they don't even follow the protocol when it comes to a man being on child support. And the reason why I say men, because it happens to men. And when these people and these feminists come telling you, well, it's women too, 15% and only 57 and only 51% pay their child support. I ain't trying to hear what you talking about. Nah, this is a man issue. It's gender bias, not racial, because they don't care what color you is going up in there. You know, so. And another reason why I said fuck child support, because if it wasn't no child support, then it wouldn't be a lot of women having kids out of wedlock. A lot of women would choose the right man. They would definitely take pills, shots, and everything else. But as long as they know they got government daddy, you can get on child support for any reason. They don't care if you is a deadbeat. They don't care if you did it the right way and got married. They don't care if you've been in your child's life from day one, if you've never been around your child. All they care about is getting that money. They don't care about you being a Klan member. They don't care about you being pro-black. They don't care about you being light-skinned. They don't care about you being dark-skinned. They don't care about you being Richard Spencer or Farrakhan. You go up in there, when it comes to child support, 9 times out of 10, they're going to set you up for failure. It happens every day. Happens every day, all day. So people get mad at me because I say fuck child support. No, the jig is up. And now I'm trying to teach men to get themselves in order to change the law of their mind, because the laws ain't never going to change. So you change your own, you change the laws of your mind, you yourself in order, and you start, you would not want to deal with a woman because you know her background. You did more your due diligence to find out her father, her mama, or how the family is. The mama, baby mama tears, the grandma, baby mama tears. Do she believe in child support? Do she believe in being submissive? Do she believe that the man's the one to lead? And if she tell you up front, the problem is we don't pay attention because we worry about that ass though. You know, we just want to hit that. You know what I'm saying? Oopsie and shit like that. Nah, we got to change our laws in our mind and get ourselves in order. You know what I mean? You can't be a high value man if you still pumping and dumping with all these different kids out of wedlock on child support. We was talking about that yesterday with Dr. Dre. He got 10 kids. He's not a high value man. Okay, about money wise, yeah, high value man. But you can't be a high value man. You still having all these kids and paying all this child support. That's not high value. And even Kevin Samuels said we can't look at athletes and celebrities like that because they're gonna, most of them, not all, they're gonna do all this because they don't give a shit. They can. That you can't compare them to how we are. You know what I mean? So people call me deadbeat. They get in their feelings. So I say, yeah, bitch, I'm a high value deadbeat. I'm a high value deadbeat. I sleep on the couch like you say. I run from child support. I'm a dumbass nigga off Cottage Grove. But you will still not prove me wrong about how this system and these baby mama tears truly are. So that's why everything you say. And I still continue to do what I do. Yes, it's controversial. I don't talk politically correct, but I do come out with the truth. And a lot of times,
you can't handle the truth.
That's what it is. And that's what it is. So it is what it is, bro. And I'm gonna keep doing this shit. And people get mad and getting their feelings. Talk about my mama black and you got mom ish. I got all that. Everything you say, I own up to everything. But let's talk about what these stats say when y'all be choosing single motherism. So I mean that's just what I do. And here's the funny part. When I started on here, it was all men. But I had to change my mindset because a lot of women, not all women, and let me tell y'all this, all the women that's in here, a baby mama terror is one who terrorizes fathers for being their child's lives. A baby mama terror is not a mother. A baby mama terror is not even a woman. That's the devil's son-in-law. When I talk about baby mama terrors, that's what I'm talking about. If you're a mother, or you know what I'm saying, you don't cause havoc to the father and all that stuff, then I ain't talking about you. And I tell it all the time. I got women on my platform now because a lot of women see the light. A lot of women got husbands that went through it or going through it. They father went through it. They was alienated from their father, shit like that. So this is not just affecting us. It affects us the most, of course, but it ain't just us. So now I got it where I got men and women calling this shit out. And but we as men have to be the ones to call this shit out because they could do a 360 at any time. We have to call this shit out. We got to tell our stories. The problem is men do want to tell their stories. They don't want to make it worse than it has to be. And they think it make it worse. Can't get no worse. You be called a low life deadbeat piece of shit, and your kids don't respect you. And that's why I tell men, keep your veins cold. And if that manipulated ass kid is setting you up for failure, that baby mama test setting you up for failure, these courts setting you up for failure, wash your hands and move on. Pay your child support and go on to the sunset. Because ain't no sense you committing suicide, sitting there under the couch and shit like that, like I do, and set yourself up for failure. Because you the one that's gonna lose when all this shit blow up in your face. But people say I'm mean and hateful and I'm bitter. So I say, okay, bitter. When you look up the definition of bitter, it says someone who's done unjustly. So from that narrative, since I was done unjustly, and a lot of y'all been done unjustly, whether it's child support, police, or whoever, don't you have that right to be bitter? So I don't.
Of course you do, man. Of course you have the right to be bitter. You got the right to be upset. You got the right to be mad. Right. You know what I'm saying? You dropping all bombs right now, bro.
But the thing about it is they try to use that. They use that to shame you, and that's why I put all this content out. So when men hear that bullshit, oh no, you can't tell me that I'm bitter when I was done unjustly. See, they just say anything because society tell them that's what you call them, deadbeat, bitter. The definition of deadbeat, somebody who don't pay their financial obligation, bills. It ain't got nothing to do with child support. That's what I say. Don't fall for this shit. We just got to know our laws of the state, and we got to be around like-minded men that want to make change. But we have to change ourselves. That's why I say change the law of your mind. Now, as far as the Black Manosphere, I got into the Black Manosphere because O'Shea Duke Jackson and also Minister Jap. I had Dennis Sperling on my show. I've been on his show. I had a lead attorney on there. I've been on Jap show like 2 or 3 times. I've been on Ramil platform. We go back and forth. Ty City, Bernard Riley. I have talked to Obsidian on other panels. What else? Platinum Elite. But what I will say when it comes to my platform, I'm more like an affiliate of the Black Manosphere because my mission is for all men, so it's diverse. You know what I mean? But I do tell people, like everybody say, they'll tell you, I say it, save yourselves, Black man. But I also say we as men have to save ourselves as a whole because if we don't come together, and I understand we got differences in history, stuff like that, but enemy of my enemy is my friend. We gotta take out a bigger enemy, which is government daddy. Them the biggest sympathy forces ever. The reason why shit is going on the way it is because they allow it. They know these kids be set up for failure without a father, but they don't care because they want to get that money, keep themselves in them seats, and keep that power and that structure. That's why hate is going to be what it is. That's why they keeping us segregated and everything else. Gender bias. That's why the feminists run this fucking country. They run the system. You know what I mean? The third or fourth wave. The old ways, that one is not what it is today. And that's why I'm trying to get men to tell their stories, call this shit out, and we save ourselves from this crooked ass system. So that's why I continue to do what I do, brother.
Okay, so look, we got a super chat here, and there's a question. I want to direct the question first to brother Dennis Sperling, and then after that, I'm gonna let you answer the question. But let's keep it, within a short, brief, because we got some work to do here. Okay, I want you to respond to something. I got several clips that I want you to respond to, and I got an article that I want you guys to respond to. Okay. And so this question here is presented by Snuggle668, and he says, do you think it's a plan when the power was given to women over the men so they can stop having families, putting depopulation plan in place? What do you think about that, bro? So what do you say about that, Brother Sperling?
Well, I think that they began to bring women into the workforce because women were a cheaper form of labor. Women typically, they put up less fuss. On top of that, you can pay them less. So you can pay them 70 cents on the dollar. And, there's probably going to be less resistance. So they allow them in. They're much easier to manipulate, much easier to cajole. And so, but now that women are now that automation has come in to place, the women are being removed from the workforce. This is why people say COVID-19 only sped up what was happening anyway. Now, as far as depopulation, it's happening, but I think there's population explosions in other countries. So as to whether or not this was purposely planned by the government, I don't know, but I can definitely say that they would definitely be taking advantage out of it like they would any other catastrophe that's happening. So that would be my answer to that.
And my brother, Mr. Palmer, man, you want to answer that question really quickly?
Actually, the same thing Dennis said, because I'm not really sure if their goal was to depopulate. But I mean, like you said, they see what's going on. They're gonna reap the benefits from it. That's my thoughts too.
So the next question is directed towards Brother Sperling, right? Because you have knowledge of the law, which we don't have, because you've been educated and professionalized into the discipline of law or the practice of law. Okay, what is it that led to judges being called Your Honor? Why is that a thing?
Well, I mean, whether it's any official that is elected by the people, whether it's a clerk of court, they're called Your Honors. Judges are called Your Honors. The president typically is referred to as honorable because it's an honorable thing to be selected by a group of people to harness power and rule in their favor. Basically, you're elected to represent the people, so it's an honorable position. And I would think also they would hope that by referring to them in that manner, it would remind them of their obligations to the people and how they should conduct themselves. But for the most part, it's a title, Your Honor, before whatever their name is or their title.
Well, the reason I say that is because I don't know if you looked at the thumbnail to the show before you came on to the show, but I got, a judge sitting in his chamber on the book that's written, The Just Us System. And then also the head is a devil's head. And so the reason I even, I made that thumbnail was because some of the things that I think these judges are doing, whether knowingly or unknowingly, are wreaking havoc on our culture. And it's wreaking havoc on men's lives. And I'm interested in black men, but as Mr. Palmer says, this issue is impacting and affecting large swaths of men from all different kinds of races, and even in different countries. This practice has become paramount, where you assume that the best interest of the child is to be with the mother. Okay, so what would be your thoughts on what these judges are doing? How much power do these judges have? Could these judges be making different decisions? And is it really actually truly the case that men are at a disadvantage when it comes to family court and family related issues and judgments? Because I'm going to tell you before you start in, there are women, feminist women, who are going to argue the exact converse. They're going to say that the judiciary is primarily male and that these males are making decisions that benefit, by and large, men who come before them. Okay? So what would be your response to that?
Well, if we're just talking about the judiciary in general, we can look at the fact that when women have committed crimes, the same crimes that men commit, then they get less time in jail. And typically, they're awarded these criminal sentences by other men. So in actuality, and then if we take the family court system, women are typically given the children, over the men. I believe Mr. Palmer cited something to the tune of 17%, only 17% of men are awarded custody. And I'm inclined to go with that number because it sounds right based on what I've seen in my experience. But the facts just don't bear out what these so-called feminists are alleging. Men are the majority of people in prison. Men do get punished in family law. Men pay stiffer fines for infractions of the law. Now, the thing is, I don't look at police officers or judges the same way you all do. I look at them for what they are, and that's, I hate to say it, they're pawns. And the true puppet master is way up the chain a lot more, a lot deeper. And the thing is, you have to ask yourself, well, what controls the judge? Law is supposed to control the judge. And so if you begin to change the laws, then you begin to get the systematic changes that you want. But the question is, why haven't the laws changed? Well, the laws haven't changed, the laws that put ornery, testosterone filled men in prison, because they don't want these type of men on the streets. That's how revolutions happen. The reason the laws haven't changed because of family court is because they understand that if they take the money away from the man and give it to the woman, she's going to spend it and keep this economy going. And so the government has an interest in continuing the child support system. Typically, men save and women spend. So if the man has the children and the woman, he's not inclined to spend money on anything else. He has his children, so he doesn't have to pay child support. Well, you got a bunch of women who need the government to take care of them. and because they don't have the children, and thus they don't have that stipend coming from their child's father. So the government is left taking care of them, and they typically, after a certain age, they can't reproduce anymore. So you're looking at the government who has to take care of women from the age of about 35 or 40 till about 80 or 85 years old. They don't have a man, they don't have income, they don't even contribute enough to the tax base to take care of themselves. So what does the government do? The government takes the first available man, for whatever reason is sufficient, and has that man take care of him. And they'll keep it in place by what? Making sure she gets the children. So yeah, there's a governmental interest in maintaining the status quo. It's not necessarily the judges. They're only executing. They're only doing what they're told. They're only doing what they're trained to do. Matter of fact, you have judiciaries, you have committees that keep judges in line. So a judge can't just award you 100 years for a traffic ticket and then it get appealed, and him do that several more times and won't eventually get deflocked. He'll lose his judgeship if enough people begin to complain about it. But as far as the system, it's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. You understand what I'm saying, Doc?
I get you. I understand perfectly.
Yeah,
So judges are hamstrung by laws, and not only that, guidelines and committees, and but also there's a social incentive to keep this thing going, a financial incentive to keep the system going the way that it is. Okay. Now I want to ask my brother, Mr. Palmer here, to also chime in on that question. And the question being, there are a group of advocates for women who claim that the family court system is still biased towards men, that it benefits men. What's your opinion on that whole claim? And I'm going to show you an article. I'm not going to read the entire article, but I want to read excerpts from this article.
Yeah.
That where this woman is demonstrating, to the best of her ability, that somehow the courts favor men, especially in cases in which there's domestic violence. Okay, so please, could you respond to this? This claim, this charge that the court system is biased towards men. Go ahead, bro.
Oh, I thought you had a clip you was gonna show. Okay.
No.
Okay. Well, it's no different when these baby mama Ted say, well, if she that bad, why don't you go to court and fight? So I don't, stuff like that. I don't, and to me that's just somebody just trying to steer you off and manipulate you. I call that manipulation, because we all know when it comes to family court, who gets they just due and who don't. And another thing, just like Uncle D said, when it comes to these judges, a lot of judges, I don't know if a lot of y'all know this, but a lot of judges get paid. They get a percentage off child support. A lot of judges get a percent off child support. Not all judges, but some of the judges that work for family court get a percentage off child support. Not only that, you got a lot of political judges. I mean, they got to be voted in. So, and who votes the most? Men or women? Women. And if it's a woman state, and y'all hear that term woman state, they go along with the highest bidder, which is the woman. So he don't want to lose his power. And yes, he is a puppet. He's howdy doody, but he don't want to lose his power. So of course he gonna give the mother custody regardless of what you present. How the son or daughter not doing good in school, that she's living with the grandmother, living in the basement, living in the shelter. They still will not give that father custody. They'll give it to the state because that's a bigger benefit with a child. I think each child is worth $150,000 that they put in the ward of the state. So when these feminists say that it's gender bias when it comes to family court for men, that's bullshit. The stat shows it. 17.5% men only get custody. 17.5 in the nation, not the black man, the nation. And check this out. When it comes to non-custodial fathers, the average non-custodial father makes $40,000 a year. The average non-custodial father. the average non-custodial mother, which is only 15%, makes $15,000. So why would they want to have 85% of non-custodial mothers who only worth $15,000? They don't get nothing but $100 in the blunt mouth when they can get at least $3, $4, $5, $600. So this right here, to me, and so high, she look like she Indian. She don't know what the fuck she talking about. So I don't shit like that. I don't entertain that. That's just like somebody saying that the police ain't crooked. You know, it doesn't happen. It don't exist. That was back in 1955 and shit. I don't entertain that, bro. Because the stats that I put out there, it shows.
Well, I think that more than anything else, women who write articles like this are pushing a narrative. They have an incentive to push this narrative.
Right.
They're rewarded for pushing this narrative. It brings them recognition and it brings them financial solvency. That's just my opinion.
And also to steer you off, because a lot, believe it or not, a lot of these feminists, they believe this rhetoric. Even when you show them the proof, then they'll just say, well, you should have did this better and all that stuff. That's why I don't entertain it. But I still let them know this is what it is. You don't like it, it hurts, whatever. It is what it is. But this is the truth. A lot of people cannot handle the truth. Society has taught us to go along, get along train. You know what I mean? From Bill Clinton to Barack Obama, all that shit. You know what I mean? They will sit back. They've been saying that black men was the worst father in the face of deadbeat, when in actuality we're the best parents of all.
Right. The most we spend the most time with our children.
Right.
When we're given access to our children.
Right. So imagine if some black woman who's a feminist come out and say black women are the most best fit between a black woman and a father, even though we know the statistics and everything show it. I'm not gonna entertain that rhetoric, but some baby mama tears will, because they go along to get along what benefits them.
But here's what this woman says. So let me look at a few excerpts from this article, okay? So the article is written by a woman named Sonia Soda. I don't know if she is Indian or Aboriginal Australian, but the article is written from the tone and the perspective of the Australian court system. And I know there are similarities, because I think that the Australian court system borrows its precedents from common law. Can you hear me?
Yeah, no, I was gonna say when it comes to family court, all the European countries, men go through it. I have talked to guys from Australia, Canada, the UK, black and white. All the European countries is all one the same. I said it yesterday when I was on your platform. The United States get $51 billion a year when it comes to family court child support. UK get $48 million a year. It's a couple of million difference. They all do it.
Yeah, because it's all of the laws have offshoots, I think, from the common law tradition, which is the British law or the English law tradition.
Right.
I don't know if that's accurate, Counselor Sperling, but perhaps it is, perhaps it isn't. Maybe you can shed some light on that. Why are there such similarities between Western nations as it pertains to the practice and the administration of law?
Well, so the English common law was the basis for the colonial powers. Now, if you go somewhere like Louisiana, the French common law, or the French stare decisis, was where the Louisiana legal system emanated from. So there's going to be some similarities between law and the way it's processed in Great Britain and all of its former colonies, which includes the United States. The terminology, the way in which the courts conduct themselves, and even Louisiana is of course, it's an American legal system, but it just has some different terminology. But overall, it still favors the English common law system, i.e., because, like I said, fruit doesn't fall that far from the tree, and these are all colonies of former Great Britain. So they inherited the law and the stare decisis. Sometimes, if you look at the Supreme Court of the United States, when they look up origins of certain law and what the writers meant, they'll actually go all the way back to Great Britain, and see what they meant by that for a better understanding.
Okay, so the genealogical root typically is English common law. All right. Now this is. Let me read a few excerpts from this. Right. She says that evidence shows that the disproportionately male judiciary is more likely to rule against abused women and children. Now, first of all, I've talked about abuse on my show incessantly. And here's what I know about abuse from the social scientific research that I've studied over the course of the last 5 or so years. Namely, that women are just as likely violent in intimate partner relationships as men. They're more likely to initiate violence than men. Okay? And the typical kind of domestic violence that takes place within the context of intimate partner relationships amongst men and women is mutual violence, or what they call reciprocal or bivalent violence. Okay? But not only that when men and women are engaging in this kind of violence, it's the most harmful. I mean, it leads to the most kinds of injuries, all right, or the most severe kinds of injuries as it pertains to domestic violence in general. So when there's unilateral violence, there's less harm than when there is this mutual violence, when men and women are actually engaged in this protracted struggle over control or whatever the case may be within the context of the relationship. So, I mean, what these women like to do is they like to stereotype and talk about domestic violence as if it's a one-way, street, as if men are somehow, imposing their will on these poly-purebred women in the context of marriages and, boyfriend-girlfriend relationships. And then they also fail to mention that as it pertains to domestic violence, there is more violence in lesbian relationships than there is in heterosexual relationships. I just thought that you should know that.
And I want to ask something. Can I add something? I got something I want to show you, since she's talking about, abuse and neglect. I want to talk about the difference between mothers and fathers who neglect and murder their children.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, I put something in the link. You got to click on it. Okay.
I clicked you in.
All right. Now, this is from 2001 to 2006. I'm sure Uncle D probably know this. This is the one I could find because I try to make everything accurate and legit. This is from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Child Maltreatment Reports, 2001 to 2006. Victims by parental status. So here's the thing. They always sit back and say these baby mama tears are the most best fit. They get 85 to 90% of the custody. And we the deadbeats, we just good to pay our child support. From 2001 to 2006, when it came to child abuse and neglect for just being with the mother only, 1,452,099 child abuse and neglect. When it comes to child fatalities, it comes to 1,704. Now it says mother and other, meaning a simple force or a lesbian, whoever relationship. It comes out to 222,836. When it comes to child fatalities, it's 565. So the total of both is 1,674,935 child abuse and neglect. And when it comes to child fatalities, is 2,269. Now, when it comes to the father only, it's 661,129 compared to the 1.4 million. Now, when it comes to father only, when it comes to child fatalities, 859 compared to the 1,704. When it comes to a father and, the woman he dealing with or whoever, it comes to 37,836, and it comes to 77 when it comes to fatality. So look at the big difference from the two. And they say these are the most best fit. These the ones that's more qualified. These the ones that's more beneficial. But these the ones that's doing all this havoc, murders, child neglect, whether they got somebody or not. But in the courtroom, they give it to the mother because The kid's been with her for like over 6 months. So she's the most best fit. Fuck what you got on your text and your video record. They don't give a shit. That's what I say. They don't give a shit about these kids. And that's why I tell men, you definitely have to stop listening to what society tells you, that you're not worth a damn and you the unfit. Why you think a lot of y'all men got your own place, your family oriented, and the baby mama Ted's living with the grandfather, living in a shuttle bus or whatever with the kids, and the judge still give them custody because they see you as a meal ticket to keep that money in their piggy bank.
Yeah.
And before you say something, my brother Gorilla, this is why I always play this to let y'all know that, you know, they try to blind you.
You've been had. You've been duped. You've been hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray, run amok.
Yes, you have. This is why we got to do our own research, man. They've been lying to you for a long time when it comes to this bullshit family court.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is cap, man. You know, I do believe that a lot of it is cap. They have control of the narrative,
right,
and they're going to continue to spin the narrative until men begin to push back against the narrative and to tell their stories and to express their experiences with women in the context of these relationships and the havoc that is wreaking on men's lives. However, you know, men have a difficult time being empathic with other men, right? So, like, if you got an issue or you're going through a rough patch, some men will say, well, you know what? Grin and bear it. John Henry or Alpha your way through it. You know, but whereas a woman will cry and she'll lament, everybody will throw their arms around her and make sure that she's okay. So it's very difficult for men to be able to, you know, extend empathy to other men. And as it pertains to women, there are some women who are able to understand how this is wreaking havoc on men's lives, but a lot of women just don't care. It seems as if they don't have the capacity to empathize with men who are going through a rough patch or who's experiencing depression or, you know, some sort of vulnerability. They perceive it as unmanly. Okay, so they're to be protected, they're to be supported. You're the support system, even if they don't deal with you anymore, right? So I know Dennis doesn't have a lot of time. He's got some things he wants to do, but what I want to do is pick his brain on this. And here's the deal. I want to go back to that article really quickly, and let me get through it so I can get his opinions and thoughts on it. And then I'm gonna show a quick clip, and he might not be able to stay around for that. But here's what she says, man. This is what she says. 2 in 5 marriages end in divorce, and there are more than 40,000 cases a year that come before the courts that relate to custody and contact with children, a majority including allegations of domestic abuse. Now, already, Dennis, you said that this is a tactic that's used by women in order to expedite, you know, the process whereby they have complete control over the situation. Okay? But the way they regard it, so they say, well, these can be life and death decisions. At least 50 children have been killed as a result of contact with abusive parents after separation in the last 25 years. And I think that, you know,
can you mind if I dissect that, please?
Yes, sir. Please. This is why I wanted you to come here. I wish we could have got to this earlier, but please dissect.
So let's read this. 2 in 5 marriages end in divorce. And we understand that 70% of those divorces are initiated by women. But the inference is that somehow it's the man's fault, right? But they don't say that. Now, here's the next thing. And there are more than 40,000 cases a year that come before the courts that relate to custody and contact with children. Okay, a majority including allegations of domestic abuse. See, here's the thing, and Mr. Palmer pointed out the fact that the vast majority of the abusers of children are women. That's something that's not put up front. Like, that should be an important fact. Here's another thing. The allegations made in petitions are purely allegations. Now, what is abuse? And I know this is an unsavory subject, but depending on who you talk to, Abuse might be you told little Johnny to sit down and be quiet and mind his manners. That's considered emotional abuse to some people. You gave him a spanking or her a spanking because she, I don't know, fell out on the floor and threw a tantrum. Some may call that abuse. Now, will that rise to the level of abuse that a court is looking for to determine that there should be a restraining order issue? No, but the mere fact that it's abuse and there's no way to quantify what abuse they're referring to, your mind is expected to go to one extreme end. So this is what this writer is doing, right? Before the courts that relate to custody and contact with children means visitation. A majority including allegations of domestic abuse. I've explained to you guys, all that lawyer needs, all that family law lawyer needs is a little bit. You guys have been together 10 years. 5 years ago, y'all had an argument. He grabbed you by your arm. Okay, that's abuse. Well, that'll work. So you can allege abuse in hopes of getting, number one, a restraining order, which puts the man out of the house, which means now this can go on for whatever. And she gets temporary custody under the temporary orders. On top of that, if you're married, she might get temporary spousal support. And now she has no incentive to go through with the divorce because she's fine. She's got the house, you're paying the bills, because the judge is going to say, everybody keep paying everything you've been paying, which means what? That means that if the husband has been the primary earner in the home and he's been paying all the bills, that order that the judge put in place means he has to continue paying all the bills, the house note, the rent, the car, the gas, the children's tuition. And on top of that, he has to give her spousal support, temporary spousal support, and child support on a temporary basis. And because there's a restraining order, the judge is not going to put the woman out of the house and say, well, you've been there 6 months. Okay, so you can go ahead and stay there. It's a win. This is what the family law lawyers are doing. They're setting it up like that. They know exactly what they're doing. Men don't know what they're doing. It's not about what. See, unfortunately, you can make these allegations and the judges will rather be safe than sorry. And so they'll just go with it. And that's how you end up in this situation. But let's continue. But she didn't point that out. So these are
exactly. So these women are using tactics. And again,
no, the lawyers are using tactics, but this particular writer is being disingenuous. These can be life and death decisions. That's a suggestion. At least 50 children have been killed. 50 children out of how many years?
25 years.
You see what I'm saying? Like, there's been 50 children killed from not having seatbelts on this year in your town. You see what I'm saying? But who would want to say that? Oh my God, how dare you? Of course, we're always concerned about children. Yeah, but if you put it in perspective, it's a very small percentage. And although it's unfortunate, she doesn't even say who killed the children. Did the mother kill the children? You see, so this, as I read this with my eye, I see nothing but fluff and allegations and misleading statements. And I would expect this from this woman who's a philosophy major from Great Britain. But go ahead.
I hate to even call her a fellow philosopher, man. To be perfectly honest, I feel like this shit is all cap. Mm-hmm. I feel like, for the most part, this narrative, this running idea that, all abuse is related to patriarchy or male dominance is just an absolute big fat crock of bullshit. Yeah. She needs to be burnt into flames to call it out. That's just my opinion.
I'm talking about, but that's what I'm talking about right there. And Uncle D just said it, and that's why I showed the real stats. That ain't that I don't that but a lot of them will entertain this. Say, yeah, it's true. 40,000, they abusive. Y'all just abused. That's why they left. Nah.
Yeah.
But I think
it's no fault.
So my opinion on this is, see, men and women both have the capacity to commit vile actions. Men's vile actions are always covered by the media and by this political ideological constituency, but they never air their dirty laundry. They're not being objective, impartial, and totally forthcoming. And so that's what we take pause with. You only talk about the shortcomings of men, but you never discuss the shortcomings of women. You only reference men as being victimizers and never reference them as being victimized, manipulated, extorted. Okay? This is the issue that we're having. And we're not saying that some men don't do things that are vile, but we know that women are also doing things that are vile, but they're presenting themselves as poly purebreds. This nonsense has to come to a close, and only men who have these experiences are going to be able to do it. And at some point, men just have to man up, pull their skirts down, and get their hands dirty.
Yo, hey man, pull your skirt down, B.
Pull your skirt down and start telling the truth about the things that are going on in the context of your life and these intimate partner terrorists. Like I'm gonna start using BMT as well, Mr. Palmer. I hope you don't take offense to me doing that. I know you coined the phrase, but there are a lot of women out here who are BMTs.
They are.
And it's like they're WMDs, weapons of mass destruction.
Hey, these are domestic terrorists.
Well, you know, and let me just say it like this. I think partly it's our fault as men. And the reason is I say it's partly our fault is because we treat women like they're children, like they have no agency. And of course, they could never come up with this sort of contrivance to manipulate the system. Oh, not women. They're pure as driven snow and they're sugar and spice and everything nice. And so until we as men start seeing women for what they are, and that is human beings just like us, who are subject to the same treacherous notions and feelings and hedonism and propensity to be scoundrels just like we are, then nothing's going to change. You have too many true chauvinists who think women are inferiors and that they have to go out and protect these poor innocent women. Nothing's going to change.
Exactly. So let me read the next paragraph, 2 paragraphs before you chime in. Yeah. And then, if you got to duck off, I'll allow you to do so. But she goes on to say, and I'm skipping one sentence in the other paragraph, but for the sake of brevity, the lack of transparency about how these decisions are made has allowed a dangerous narrative to prevail, that the system is against biased fathers, or is biased against fathers. Next year is the 20th anniversary of the formation of Fathers for Justice, a guerrilla campaign perhaps best remembered for flower bombing Tony Blair at Prime Minister's questions. It has become progressively nastier since then, including a crummy mummy campaign singling out famous women for criticism. Fathers for Justice demand the law enshrines a presumption of 50-50 contact. Mm-hmm. Their claims of court bias against men gain broader traction in the debate around the subject, despite evidence to the contrary. Now, this is her spin. A review of published court decisions found that they promote as much contact as possible with fathers, even in cases of proven domestic violence. In 2011, a review of family law drew on evidence from Australia, where a legal presumption of shared parenting has been associated with poorer emotional outcomes from children. It concluded that there should be no legal change that might risk creating a parental right to any particular amount of time with a child, as it would undermine that a child's welfare is paramount. This did not stop the government introducing a garbled form in 2014 that told courts to presume that, unless shown to the contrary, a parent's involvement in their child's life will always be to the child's benefit. But there's growing evidence to suggest women who have suffered domestic abuse and are worried for their children's safety face an uphill battle to be taken seriously. Some judges have no understanding of domestic abuse, highlighted in an excoriating high court ruling that overturned a finding by a senior male judge that it wasn't rape because he didn't fight back. That hasn't stopped the judge involved continuing to preside over family court cases involving domestic abuse allegations and making a similar ruling in another case. It's also well known amongst lawyers and domestic abuse charities that there are judges on the circuit who take against women alleging domestic abuse abuse, and I've heard horror stories from domestic abuse survivors about their treatment at the hands of judges. Think being called the girl who cried wolf as the judge ignores evidence to the contrary. Let me keep on here. There's evidence that the system is too quick to assume domestic abuse only affects mothers, not children, and that women and children are safe once a relationship is over. Women can find themselves in a catch-22, told by social services they must leave their abuser or risk their children being taken into care, but then disbelieved by a judge when that abuser applies for contact. And then she says this: two things made the situation worse. Cuts to legal aid means many mothers and fathers end up representing themselves, which means women can find themselves in the awful position of being cross-examined in front of a hostile judge by their abuser. Which, to me, is you're going to accuse somebody of doing something, you need to fucking be there and to face the goddamn music. You are alleging something that's going to destroy a person's reputation, perhaps maybe even their contact with their children, but they don't want it. They don't want them to be present. This is all some bullshit. But anyway, recently introduced provisions to try to protect women who say they have been abused, such as the use of screens in court or only used patchily. I say fuck giving them screens. If they claim that they were being abused, they need to face their accuser. They need to, their accusers, they ought to be able to face that person who they're accusing. No, all these screens and shit is like treating women like children. But anyway, this is one other thing she says, and I'm gonna let you comment on it after I read it. And in recent years, the junk science of parental alienation syndrome has gained traction. So she's saying that there is no such thing as parental alienation. Like mothers don't actually alienate their children from their fathers. This idea was developed in the 80s by Richard Gardner, a crank psychiatrist who thought child sexual abuse is not necessarily traumatic, which I don't know that if that claim is true or not, and that mothers who don't fulfill their partner sexually are to blame for fathers sexually abusing their daughters.
This is all, and I know you want to finish reading it, but
I told you, man.
I'm gonna close that out, man.
I told you, man.
If you basically just, she's saying, here's what she's doing.
Manipulation.
She's basically saying, surely you don't want to side with this guy. He says children who experience sexual abuse may not be hurt that bad. Surely he's an animal. Surely if he said that, he's a horrible guy. You don't want to be his friend. It's no different than when I'm sitting in front of a jury, and I'm vordaring the jury, and I got this redneck, and he says, well, I just don't like niggers. And so what I do is I don't stop talking to him. I continue talking to him. Well, why is it that you're not like Negroes? You don't like mine, you don't like me, you don't like my client. But why? Tell us why. And what'll happen is you'll start seeing the people sitting next to him. If he's sitting here, they'll start leaning over like that because they don't want to be like him. Surely you don't want to be like this guy. You make an example of what not to be like. So she basically stuck a pin in the map and said, none of you guys want to go here. So before you even bring up that parental alienation junk science, let me tell you about this
person who created it,
this cretin who came up with it, who says that children who are sexually abused, oh my God, it wasn't that bad. And all that does is it's a shaming tactic.
Exactly.
So
manipulation.
Yeah, and so this lady, again, she's not.
And she's a philosopher, by the way. She knows that that's a form of fallacy and argumentation. Right. Destroy the reputation of the individual making the argument instead of attacking the argument itself. That in and of itself is a fallacy. You don't get to get a pass on that. You get burned in the flames for that, lady. Straight up, you get burned in the flames for that. Sorry for the theatrics, but I got to do it. It is a show.
Oh, I love it.
I need some stuff.
I had no problem. You hear what I play? I had no problem with that. But this example that I tell men that they will try to shame you when you call out the truth, when you call out what's not right. They will say, well, who hurt you? Your mama black, you bitter, you angry black man, and you must got mama issues. Anything they do, see you later. Anything they do to try to get you to shut your mouth. No, that's why, like Uncle D said, we got part of the blame because we continue to shut our mouth.
They need to get some ice in their veins, as Mr. Palmer said.
Keep them veins cold.
A lot of you men are simps.
Yes.
You believe that women are sugar and spice, and
God,
you got that girl dad complex. You want
God
women, instead of treating them like the human beings that they are,
right?
Recognize that they are subject to manipulate, take advantage of, and do everything that men will do because we're all human beings. You treat them with kid gloves. They cry, "Oh my gosh, she could have just shot somebody in the back, in a parking lot." But all she has to do is start crying, and people start making excuses for it. And this is just the unfortunate. This is the unfortunate pedestal occurrence of what happens when you begin to pedestalize any group of people, including women. Women, modern women today, and this is our lovely ladies included, so it's not just white girls, are the most coddled group of individuals on this planet that have ever existed at this time. A friend of mine on one of my pages, he referred to it as the coddle culture. And see, the coddle culture, which allows a woman to cry and get away with murder, literally, is part of the reason. You men need to straighten your backbones up, look at things fairly, stop being so biased against men. And when you see BS like this, call it. But that would be about what I would have to say about that to her, Doc.
Yeah, and I just wanted your take on that because, we all know that one of the ways that women have gained control in this culture is by having control over children. And it's a relatively recent phenomenon. It's not something that's been in existence in Western culture for any longer than 150 years, in fact. And I always tell people, before England enacted the Custody of Infants Act, which took place in 1839, men received full custody of children in divorce cases.
Right.
Men were the primary caretakers of children, not women. This act, the Custody of Infants Act, enabled women to petition the court, like men do now, to maintain custody of the children until the age of 7. But in 1873, British Parliament extended the age to 16 under what they called the tender years doctrine, which basically presumed that in the child's early years, they're best cared for by their mothers. Okay? This principle was adopted by the majority of United States, and the law reigned for the next century. Now before, and I'm just gonna keep it 100, man, like before these simps decided to give up their power over children to women, they actually had a patriarchy. Now they have a gynocracy.
What's up, everybody? This is Dennis Sproul, and I'm back at you again. This is our second session today. We are building over here.
Yeah, that's cool to say. We are building over here. We building right now. We building. Hey, we building, baby. We breaking it down with science and building with math, so the deaf, dumb, and blind can feel the wrath. Yeah, that's that Big Daddy Kane from the old school. But but right now, these women know that they have an advantage with the system as it exists now. They're not going to give it up. They're going to use any rhetoric, any tactic, any strategy they can to maintain the power. And this is power. Okay, this is why they were railing against patriarchy. Now they have a gynocracy, and they're going to try their best to uphold it. Okay, they're not going to go down, quietly in the night. They're going to fight the good fight, and they are prepared for war. And the honest to God situation is that men are just not prepared for this war. I remember you mentioning, Brother Spurley, that you'll take men into counseling sessions and sit them down and say, look, this is what you got to do in order to win this case against this woman who's filed this petition against you. Right. And the men will be like, well, I don't know if I should do that. I don't know. I don't think, I really don't want to see her hurt.
Right.
And men take on that position while these women are doing everything they can to stab them in the back. And then what do? They do the fainting couch woman shit. Then they cry big tears and talk about how they were hurt and how they were abused and so on and so forth. But they're using every tactic in the book they can to get control. A lot of these women, I can't say all because I don't want to overgeneralize, but a lot of these women could give a single solitary fuck about you or your well-being, even if you are the father of their children. And that's the issue that men have to come to terms with.
The thing is, Doctor, the way the judicial system is set up, we're supposed to get people justice. But the truth is, it's adversarial and either side wants to win. They're not concerned about justice, whether it's personal injury law. I got a guy, he got a fender bender and a scratch of paint, and he wants $1 million for his claim. But, and if I get him $1 million, he's not going to say, oh, well, justice would only require I should get 10,000. So I'm going to give this 999,000 back. That's not what people do. They want to win. And so asking women to give up this benefit that they have is like me getting you $1 million judgment and you only accepting 10,000. You like, well, if you got it for me, I must deserve it. And so that's the way you have to understand. This is a perspective that women are coming from when they use the judicial system against men. You see, they're not going to give it up. It's going to have to be taken from them. Men are going to have to get together. I mean, what I suggest you do is make friends before you need them. You know, and I won't go into, I might actually do one more being the man about town and how I explain how I prepare a firewall for myself against those who would try to sue me or take my children and things like that. And it has a lot to do with the type of contributions to different political organizations, different key people in politics, because you have to protect yourself. Because when it comes down to it, if you're a black man in America, you're going to get the justice that's written on the books. But typically what I find is that, people who are privileged, and we often say white people are privileged, but some of them are catching hell too, especially the poor ones. But people who are privileged get the benefit of the doubt. So you just have to put yourself in that privileged position. And I know that sounds elitist and it sounds unfair, but again, just like it's really all you can do to fight against the advantage that women have as the law is written right now, and the way society is perceives women and the way they perceive men, specifically black men. You've got to seek the unfair advantage. And that's something that I talk about in my books, Rules to Live By, How to Maintain Peace of Mind and Advantage. Always seek the unfair advantage. And unfair might not necessarily be illegal, but it may be something that others wouldn't do. You may know the judge, you may know the prosecutor. You may have contributed to somebody's campaign when they were just starting off. This is the way, unfortunately, people are governed by connections and who they know and social contact. So that's just something to think about. Maybe we can dig into that a little bit further. I'll kind of maybe show you how I've insulated myself a little bit. I can't tell you everything.
Yeah, I understand. So any closing remarks that you want to make and give our audience? And I'm going to allow Mr. Palmer to do the same thing. I know, being here, for a prolonged period of time is taken away from being able to engage in your own activities. You're both professional men, social content creators.
I got to run for child support. That's what I got to do today. So I got a lot of running.
Well, my children are here, and so I do my broadcast, and I spend time with them. Otherwise, they feel neglected, and so I only get them 2 nights a month. 2 nights a month times 3. I get my children 3 weekends a month, and I'm currently embroiled in the child custody battle with my ex-wife. And you would have thought I got TV shows together, girl. I mean, what more?
I told you.
But that's unfortunately You know, it's how it works. There, you can't expect women not to give up that advantage, even if you are a good father, even if you're a responsible father, even if you publicly responsible and you've done all. You expect too much of women if you expect them to give up the advantage. If you wouldn't give that $1 million back that I would earn you in a car accident where you know you weren't injured, you can't expect them to give up the advantage they have in family court. It has to be taken from them. They're not looking for justice. They're looking to win.
Right.
But aside from that, man, Dr. Gigi, it's always an honor and a pleasure to be here. You know, and I tell people all the time, you know, as to whether or not I'm a member of the Manosphere, I don't take on that title lightly, because I know there are people here like Minister Jap, O'Shea Duke Jackson, BGS Ibmore, so many of the others that came before, who I have great respect for. You know,
Yeah, shout out to them, by the way. And you know,
and that's
I'm
why
new on the scene as well. So shout out to them, man. They deserve a round of applause, man.
Right. And so what I do is I take this opportunity to speak to people, to speak publicly. I take it very seriously. I would not give anybody any advice that I wouldn't give my own sons, or that I wish somebody had given me before. But at the point where, you know, folks say, yeah, you're part of the Black Manosphere, that's cool, or Manosphere, or whatever. But, you know, I take it, and I don't want to step on anybody's toes either. You see what I mean? I don't want to bully my way in. You understand what I'm saying, brothers? And so
I get it, and I don't want to either.
Yeah.
But, you know, my only thing is, man, I've been going through it too. It ain't like, you know, life been a crystal stair for me with these women, man. And, and you know, you think you are contracting a friend and a lover for life until you realize. I'm serious. And this is the syrupy. Like, men are more romantic than women.
Well,
I believe that. I believe that men have more idealistic expectations than women do.
They're always so pretty in the beginning, aren't they?
Always.
Yeah.
Always.
But
you know, you
can't live with them, and you can't live with them.
I think that this is a contrived condition, and it's been a narrative that's been pushed by feminist women who, at the onset, had already declared what their business was about. The business was about waging a war on men. What better way to wage a war than to get men to be enlisted to serve in the other side and to be used, co-opted like a virus in order to perform a function for the other side? We really shouldn't be thinking about a war against one half of a population of humanity that had no choice in the matter on what sex they were going to be born into to begin with. This is absolute nonsense. It's silly to me that this has been going on as long as it has. But, you know, so if you want to wage war against your father, your brother, your uncle, your cousin, if that's what you want to do, and you think that that's going to have some beneficial turnout in the long game, it's one thing for the short game, okay? But the long game is going to require cooperation and coordination between men and women. And unfortunately, the justice system has not turned out to be an impartial and an objective arbiter between the differences that have taken place between men and women, which have arisen within the recent years. It's just...
I'll give you something before I leave that I've learned in my life and from reading. Women want two things. They want to control their bodies, and then they want to control your body. So what does that translate in the context of this war? They don't want us dead. They want us enslaved. So that's their objective.
Man, and you know what? I ain't nobody's slave. I was never 12 years a slave. So, you know, I ain't, you know, but they have an advantage on the board.
Yeah.
And they know that they have it, and they use it. Yeah. Until men begin to play the same game, this is a tit for tat game here. It has to be. And we're not, at the current moment, men still have the gloves on. These women have knives in their hands and Berettas.
We need to control the infrastructure. I don't think a tit for tat thing would work. We need to be able to control the infrastructure, how the laws work. What the law says this. There may be some exceptions to that, but the man gets the one who can afford to pay for the children gets the children. And so we need to control the infrastructure. We can't fight them we can't fight a fight with them. They're gonna win. They're gonna win the cat fights and the tit for tats. We gotta fight. We got to literally take the rug out from up under them if we want to gain some ground. But man, Doctor, it's been great being here. Thank you so much. It's always an honor to be here. And I want to thank you, Mr. Palmer. Always a pleasure sharing
likewise.
Man. I appreciate all your fans and everybody, man. This is always stimulating.
So yeah, if you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe to Dennis Sperling's channel, and also that you subscribe to Mr. Palmer's channel. Make sure you do that. To subscribe to either one of our channels is free, but also if you have the capacity, make sure you support these brothers with donations, because the content, it takes a lot of time to create, even though it just seems like we're on here shooting the shit and talking.
Yes, it does.
A lot of effort and energy goes into every stream we do. Even if it doesn't come off like any effort was put into it, trust me, there is some effort that takes place behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So support each one of these brothers, man. And I'll see you later, Brother Sperling. And Mr. Palmer, I know you got some closing remarks you want to make, so please do so, and then you can go ahead and depart. And I'm going to do a little bit more. But yes.
I just want to say I appreciate you having me on your show. I appreciate the good dialogue we had yesterday. I want you on the show sometime next week, so I'll be reaching out to you. We as men have to separate ourselves from these simple forces and these baby mama terrorists of society. Like I say, the laws is not going to change, so we have to change within ourselves. We have to change the laws in our mind. We have to take accountability for our actions. We have to fix ourselves mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially. We have to do that first before we decide that we want to be that high value man, if we want to have a good woman, have somebody to lead, and so on. Or if you want to live a frigid lifestyle, if you want to go MGTOW, but you still have to have that mindset in order to make that change. And you have that power. Don't never let society or these baby mama terrorists or your no life to ass, manipulated ass mother or any woman set you up for failure to shame you about your truth, about who you are, what you stand for, what you will not entertain. You do not let somebody else manipulate you, regardless if the majority of society are against you. Those who are Christians, look at the Bible. Jesus, the majority did not side with Jesus. So what did they do? They killed him. He only had a select few. So if Jesus, and for those who are Christian, if Jesus can risk his life for his truth, you can do yours for your truth. We have to stop being quiet. We have to stop going along to get along. We have to stop entertaining this bullshit. We have to start calling this shit out. And even though we calling this shit out, hopefully we have a mindset to go out there and do something. I don't want to just sit behind this computer screen talking about fuck child support and this. My goal is actually to be out here and do public speaking and to actually try to have conference and try to meet with other brothers so we can change ourselves, so we get ourselves in order. We have to keep our veins cold because the shit we put out, they will try to sabotage you. They will lie on you. You saw that article. What'd she say? He said something about sexual assault don't affect the child and all that stuff. She tried to tear you to hate him as some rapist if he really said it. But if you're a thinker, you at least investigate it first. We have to be thinkers and not reactors. So yes, I got to get back on the couch, run for my child support. If y'all want to subscribe to me, just type in Mr. Palmer on YouTube, and I got fuck child support, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook as well, and even on TikTok is Mr. Palmer D4S. D4S stands for do for self, and that's what we have to do. We have to save ourselves. We have to build ourselves. We have to love ourselves, and we have to do for self. So, I appreciate y'all having me on here, and I definitely don't want this to be a 1 or 2 time thing. Green Gorilla.
Oh
So
no, man. You
so
welcome.
anytime you want me to come on here, let me know ahead of time. I have no problem coming here, and I definitely want to network with the real brothers out here. So I mean, I ain't going nowhere. I don't care what these baby mama terrorists in society try to do, because just like this woman said about what me and this and me and Gamma Right, I put up the statistics that 1.7 million children are abused by mothers. So don't fall for that rhetoric that they've been trying to change you to feel that we're a bad man. Your own mama could be a baby mama terrorist to try to set you up fair. And you believe that your father was a deadbeat, but then come to find out he been alienated, been paying child support, fighting and everything, and he didn't know where you was. So at least investigate the situation. Don't become jumping these bitches' defense because they said he hit me. She might have told him she got HIV and she gave it to him. You don't know. Call the police. But don't we got to be thinkers, not reactors. That's basically what we got to do. You want to make change? We got to do something. Let's quit shucking and jiving and whining and talking about this ain't right. Let's change that narrative.
Yes,
That's
sir,
all I say,
man.
bro.
And hey, look, man, I will come on your show anytime you ask me to, bro. Given that I ain't got nothing to do, man. If you give
You
me
like
ahead
me,
of
huh?
time, if you give me ahead of time, I'm
Yeah.
on it.
You ain't
You
running
know,
for child support like I am, is you?
You said what now?
I said you ain't running for child support like I am.
No, I'm past that game.
Okay.
You know, I'm a little, my youngest kid, man, is 18. You know what I'm saying? So, the first baby mama was a terrorist. The second one wasn't.
That's good.
You know what I'm saying?
1 out of 2.
So, I don't really I don't have them issues anymore. And I ain't going through that no more. I'm not having no kids no more.
No,
You know what I'm saying? So
that's it.
My conception of what was going to happen versus what actually did happen in the context of the relationships that I had with I can definitely say this about the first one, is about the difference between when you think you're about to succeed and you fall dead on your face when you run off the porch and you stumble and trip and fall and scrape your head on the concrete. That's the same, man. I thought it was going to be all good. I was going to live a pleasant life, have 2.5 kids, a picket fence and a dog and about 4 or 5 cars. And then all of a sudden all this happened. And it's like, damn, I didn't know that, that women could be this vitriolic, man.
Right.
Could be this this evil and spiteful and hold that hatred
forever
over decades, bro. Forever. I didn't know that like somebody could actually do that kind of thing,
bro,
to themselves. Because all that hating hurt, bro.
Yes.
I'm gonna just keep it 100. Hating hurt.
They hate you more than they love their kids. They could be remarried and they still hate you, even though this is supposed to be their new Prince Charming. You can't make this shit up. You just
can't even make it up. You can't make it up, man.
Shit up, bro.
But it's about power, dog. So at any rate, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate you, brother Palmer, man. I'm going to do one more thing before I end the show. But thank you so much for joining me, man.
Hey,
much love to you, bro.
I'm going to hit you up later, bro.
Peace out, man.
Peace out. Peace out to the chat, y'all. Peace.
Peace. So, look, I got one more segment I'm going to do, but I'm going to take a quick commercial break before I do that. And then, I'll open it up if anybody wants to come in and have a conversation. So, let me take a quick commercial break right fast. I'll be right back with this Green Gorilla channel. Right back at ya. All right, man. We back. You know who I be. I'm GG, man. You tuned in to the Green Gorilla channel. It's the place where black men get to express themselves freely, straight up, no chaser with all the fluff. I want to thank again my guest today, Attorney Dennis Sperling, and Mr. Fuck Child Support himself, Mr. Palmer. So at the current moment, what I want to do is share a clip with you all. And I'll comment on it briefly. But this clip is from a woman who started the women's shelter movement. And I want you to pay close attention to what she has to say. Peep it.
In 1971, I opened the first refuge in the world. And for the first 4 years, I ran it on the grounds of generational family violence, which needed therapeutic intervention, which I created a model.
So this is the woman who started the domestic violence shelter movement. She created it. Her name is Erin Pizzi. Peep now.
The most important thing was not to create any form of institution, because you don't need staff. Mothers were perfectly capable of running the place themselves, and it was important that they did. And I was attacked by feminists regularly. Anywhere I went, I was picketed, I was threatened, because they believe that all men are potential abusers of women and children, and that all women are victims of men's violence. My mother was violent, well, both my parents were violent, and I'd always known it to be a generational, intergenerational family problem, because I could trace mine back both sides. Both my parents were abused children. And in the creating of this victim role, it's taken away. I find it incredibly patronizing, because women are equally as able to be violent, like I was. If you come from a violent home, many people will transcend, but some of us, like me, transcend because something intervenes in my life to show me a different way of dealing with pain, anger, and frustration.
You heard her say it. The woman who created the domestic violence shelter movement before it was hijacked by radical feminists basically is making the claim, and has made the claim, that these women can be equally or even more violent than the men that they are running from. Yeah, that way.
The biological side of a child, 50% of the genes belong to the father and 50% to the mother. If the father leaves, he still has a responsibility to validate his children, and I think the same for the mother. Because you leave, it doesn't have to be a tragedy. You don't have to leave your children. And as a mother, and it's most unfortunately mothers, who will act against fathers and try, once they've finished with the relationship, they move on, and they don't want the father in the children's life. And that's very dangerous. And the most dangerous thing of all, and terrible child abuse, is where one or both parents alienate the child from the parent, the other parent.
In other words, stop being a fucking baby mama terrorist. It's dangerous. It's injurious to the kids. It's wrong. And yes, it happens. Stop capping. Anyway, let her go on to speak.
And that has to be stopped, because it does such damage, because those children become, if it's the mother's version of the wicked, dreadful father, the child's brain gets hardwired with this information, and they actually don't know that other parent. The only version they've got is through their mother's eyes. So often they will actually become extremely hostile to the other parent, never knowing that it's a good, warm, loving man.
Damn. Let me continue.
Who wants his children? The idea, if you have to remember, the radical feminist idea has always been that men are the enemy, that the new model is women and children, which is largely what has been happening anywhere, if you think about it. And with more and more men, which is what the MRAs now are a voice to actually reckon with. And what they're saying is that To be a man, to make any sort of relationship with a woman is extremely dangerous. Women can now.
You said that right. We're not imagining this bullshit, bro. We're not just hurt. Don't try to shame us. It's dangerous to fuck with women nowadays, bro. That's the truth, man. Because they can drag your ass into court, take your money, take your kids, ruin your reputation, perhaps maybe even ruin your freedom. And then on top of that, this motherfucker can be violent as hell to you. This is the shit that men got to deal with contemporarily in this culture. And they're doubling down on their innocence. We got to hold these motherfuckers accountable, bruh, and let them know this bullshit is over. We got to let them know it's done. We ain't playing that game no more. Let me let her continue.
In a home, pick up the phone and call the police to take the man away. They don't have to have any evidence. They can just say he's intimidating me, he's hostile, whatever. And they have to be, in some cases, if there's a fight going on, the police are mandated to only take the man out in some areas. So there he not only loses his rights to be innocent till he's proven guilty, he is actually guilty. And then what happens after that is that unless she decides to change her mind, he loses his house, he loses his children, he probably doesn't even get to see them. This is a it's a long, terrible road for men who are in this position. And essentially in the Western world, in intimate partner relationships, men have lost absolutely everything. And there is no guarantee when they get married or they live with a woman that anything's going to ever be protected. And the most frightening thing is the false allegations. And in Canada, I was interested, when a man comes home from work and his wife and children are gone and their possessions, it's called hoovering. She's hoovered up and she's gone off to a shelter. He won't know where the shelter is and he won't be told. He'll be told by the police that she's safe, and that's all. So suddenly he's faced with that. One of the problems in the shelters, and a lot with the lawyers, your attorneys, is that they will use domestic violence as a fast track to divorce. And they will advise women to claim domestic violence. And if that doesn't work fast enough, it's called the silver bullet in Canada. She claims that he's molested the children. And then that's finished for him for the rest of his life. And that's one of the tragedies of it all, that it has become now completely dishonest and corrupt. And the feminized courts and the feminized judiciary, feminized social services, civil services, right the way through, there is a huge diaspora of men who have lost everything, and it has been unjust, seriously unjust. The research that's put out by the feminist movement is mostly erroneous. The 1 in 4 argument. There is actually no control groups. There is no, that 1 in 4 comes from women in the refuge. Asking women, what they didn't ask is how many men have been abused.
Bam. How many men have been subjected to this bullshit?
It's this, essentially, to me it's been fraud for all these years. I did a study of the first 100 women that came into my refuge, and it's very clear that 62 of the women were as violent as the men they loved.
What? Oh, what? What? This woman is the woman who started the domestic violence shelter movement. Single-handedly, through her own will and volition, she basically created a refuge for women. And she basically said, while she did a study of the first 100 women in the shelters, that 66 of them, we're talking about damn near over half, close to 3/4 of the women were just as violent as the men that they were supposed to be running from. What the fuck? But they get to claim that, you know, they were abused, they were damaged, they were hurt by the man. And then you got professionals, I mean, like women with doctoral degrees and attorney, you know, licenses and shit, and activists and people in corporate America who continue to push this narrative that has no basis in reality whatsoever. And then you wonder why we have a place like the Black Manosphere. And then you wonder why you have fathers for justice and shit like that. And you wonder why there's such a thing as men's rights activism. You wonder why. And the only thing you can come up with is you hate women? Cut that bullshit out, man. Stop it. Cut it out, man. You're going to get this work. You're going to get this work. Period. You're going to get the work, whether you like it or not.
There was no way I could ever get that published, ever. You just can't, because one of the problems is that as far as the newspapers are concerned, women's issues are covered by women. Well, the majority, not all, but the majority of, for a long time, especially in England, of the women journalists were radical feminists. And as I know that there are lots and lots and lots of women out there who are feminists and would be proud to call themselves feminists, and they're equity feminists, but they are no part of this radicalized, in a sense very isolated, because the domestic violence movement has become the engine that actually runs the radical and funds them. And that's really the problem. And the problem is that so many men, because of the fact that all men are abusers and perpetrators, it has made a huge war between men and women. It's called the gender war, and it works, and it's in existence. And I look at young women who I think are absolutely wonderful, but I know no man's going to marry them because men are less and less willing to make committed relationships. And what's the future in that?
I'll be right back, man. One more commercial break, and then I'm gonna bring up my brother Kenshin. I'll let you in a second. Quick break this time. Coming back in with a bang. I'd like to welcome now Kenshin to the stream. What's up, brother Kenshin? You still there? You've been waiting patiently for quite a bit of time.
Man, I tell you what, I appreciate the knowledge you brought on. I was in a good place because I needed to learn exactly what the weapon is under the court system, you know, which is the title of the show. And we got a law perspective from someone in that area, and we also got the actual father experiencing it in all ways. So, and he was able to present data behind data and actual antidotal, which breeds across all race of men. So this is why we have the white manosphere, because it's not just us. Um, and so that's actually, I was trying to just keep note so I can go and finish do the research and then keep up with what was going on. That's how much information was given out. So I appreciate you for that, Gigi. Um,
Oh
so
man, you're most welcome, man.
yeah, my thing is, right. My grandfather and my father are my leaders, right? They control they control the access that I have to anything because I'm under their leadership. So I think when it comes to the culture, I think we need to take culture and realize that it won't be anything that the court systems would change. Senate's House, it won't change for us in our favor. We can change the image to a certain extent, um, but we can't change the culture anymore. And so the gynocracy is going to push the propaganda. I remember they showed a video of the line between China and Japan, and that line is basically a line that shows the authorities and all the war spectrums and bases that are prohibited for that war zone area. And really, what it means is before anything ticks off between Japan and China, there's the line of code that they have to actually uh, go to. And that line that they meet right there between the line of wars and parties and armies between China, there's propaganda. And so the propaganda would cause any white flag or anyone push the George Bush button. But would what consumes the propaganda is the fact that the generals are right there stationed at the line. And so there's no general at our station for black men when it comes to the propaganda. So the radical insurgent terrorist women who look at us in this way, they will look at the propaganda and use that as enough data to treat us the way they treat us. But then if you look at the actual data instead of the narrative or the propaganda, they won't go to war with us. So they're launching a war based on what the media wants to allow, versus if you actually go to the site and do peer review research. Yes, ladies, if you actually go, and not all ladies, but if you ladies go and do the peer review research. Don't just listen to the propaganda and the narrative, because that's why nations are split apart right now. This is why nations go to war.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that
You
that's
know.
what I wanted to add, Gigi.
Well, thank you, my brother. Thank you for joining me and for hanging on. I didn't want to make you hang on, but I had invited those guests to come on the show, and so I wanted to give them time. But thank you for being patient and waiting to make your statement. I appreciate it. So ultimately, what I'm about to do is make my closing remarks. So I'm going to fade you out, and then I'm going to wrap this up. So thank you for joining me, brother.
Appreciate you, brother.
All right. So look, y'all, I just wanted to invite Attorney Dennis Sperling and Mr. Palmer here to talk about these issues and how they impact men, but black men specifically. We're caught up in the system in ways in which other people are not. It seems that we have a culture whereby black women will use the state system readily, enthusiastically, in order to gain power over you, in order to be able to control and to manipulate you and to draw resources from you. Be careful, man. The most dangerous decision or the most, intricate The most lifelong changing decision has to do with who you decide to consort with, man, in relation to women. It could be either a tragedy or a triumph, depending upon what you decide to do and who you pick. It's like box of chocolates, man. You never know what you're going to get, bro. Be careful, man. It can have life-altering consequences. It's best that you know that. And we got to start making brothers accountable. We got to make women accountable and let them know we're not going for the gaslighting, the banana in the tailpipe, all the fainting couch bullshit. All the tales and the narratives about how they've been hurt and abused and how they were controlled and manipulated. It's not a one-way street. This is like a roundabout. This is not a one-way street. I say this all the time, and I'll say this again before I close out. Men and women are human. We both have the capacity to engage in immoral or unjust behavior. To put forth the idea that only one half of the human species has the capacity to be tyrannical, to be violent, to be manipulative, to bring about or to introduce harm into the world is one of the most terrible fucking lies I've ever heard in my life. It's absolutely silly and it's absurd. And the fact that men have bought into this bullshit, and even women who know that they are fucked up in ways, that they're not perfect. For this shit to go as long as it's going is wondrous to me. Fantastical to me. It's ridiculous. Save yourself, black man. Until next time, man, be easy. And thank you for the super sticker, my brother. T-Fitness for you. Till the next time, man, I'll holler at y'all, man. It's been real. 1.